Hi folks, I hope you're having a great day. My name is Sock or Scott, either name is fine. And I spent about 20 to 25 years in high-tech recruiting and HR leadership in the Bay Area in California. And today I live in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I want to use this channel to reflect on things like life, mindfulness, and reinvention. So what I want to talk about today is really that reflection point, that moment that led me to make the change to come move to Thailand in late summer of 2024. To do that, we really need to go back to the summer of 2023. I was leading recruiting for a small ed tech startup in the Bay Area, and it really helped them in a year and a half or 20 months grow from about 75 people to 135 people, which really was the goal. And I remember sitting in my little 2-bedroom apartment in Mountain View in a very quiet neighborhood one day, and I just was feeling a little burned out, so I asked myself 3 very important questions. First was I happy? Second, was I fulfilled? And third, why was I doing all this? And so I sat quietly and really tried to answer these questions to myself so that I could figure out kind of where I was going and what I was doing. So let me kind of give you the answers. So the first question was, am I happy? And I think at that point in my life, it's a complicated answer because I think I was happy living in my little 2-bedroom apartment. It was a quiet neighborhood. I had a pretty decent salary, so I could do the things that I wanted to do. So from that standpoint, I was happy. I was happy seeing my family and my friends, playing a little bit of music, but overall, it wasn't the happiness that I think I was seeking. Second was I fulfilled? And in terms of the work, I love getting people jobs and getting jobs that they really desire. And that's a great feeling when they sign the offer and they're happy, and that's awesome. But I had already started to see the downturn in hiring in tech. A lot of layoffs had already happened, and I really felt like more were on the way. And another thing that I really saw is it became clear that most companies were putting profits over people. And that's not something that I was a big fan of. And I just really thought to myself, do I really need to keep doing this to help another CEO, another company make multi-millions of more dollars? And the answer to that question was no, it did not align with my values. And then the third question, and probably the most important one, was why am I doing this? And after giving it some thought, it really came down to one thing. I was doing that work so that I could live in that little apartment in Mountain View and have this chill life that I wanted to have. So I was really working to live. And for me, I just realized that that was not enough. So what came next? So what came next is a discussion with my boss. Because after thinking about this, I just decided that my values weren't really aligning with the company values, with their goals, and what they wanted to do and what I wanted to do. So I told my boss that, I said, listen, we've hit our hiring goals. I don't think you need a director level person in this role anymore. We put together a good team. And I think if there's going to be any changes, I'd rather have you make the changes with me than with them. So we agreed to a transition plan of about 6 to 8 weeks. I helped them close out a few things. And I decided at that point that I was going to be done with that job. Now, at this point, for a lot of people, when they make a change like this, things like fear and anxiety can begin to set in. And I think with me, that did a little bit. But because of my studying of teachers like Neville Goddard and Dr. Joseph Murphy, I realized that I was the only one that could control my reality. So I really started to think about, well, what is it do you want, Scott? What do you want to do? And I knew I wanted to have less anxiety and less stress in my life. I knew that I didn't want to continue to live in the rat race in the Bay Area. And I knew that I wanted to find somebody to share my life with. So those are the things I started focusing on. And then one of my friends said to me, Scott, I think you'd be a really good career coach. So I took that on point. I followed my intuition, and I decided to start the career coaching business without really a huge plan or business plan how I was going to do it. I was just going to put myself out there and see if I could help some people. And that's pretty much what happened. I was able to gain some clients and make some momentum. But then I remember in spring of that year, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who lives in Chiang Mai. She's retired. She's very smart. And she said, Scott, I can hear in your voice that you don't want to be there anymore. Maybe you should just come here. You have some friends here. You've lived here before. You know a little of the language. And she said, just come for 60, 90 days and see what happens. If it doesn't work out, you can always go back. But if it does work out, you can find a way to stay. So that's what I did. I got a 60-day tourist visa from the embassy. And I just flew to Thailand, I flew to Chiang Mai, and I just sort of followed my heart in terms of what I wanted to do. And when I made this trip, I realized again that there were three things that I wanted to do. One is I wanted to grow the coaching business to a level where I could afford to stay in Chiang Mai. Two, I wanted to find a woman around my age that I could spend my life with. And three, I just wanted to make my life healthier and try to eliminate stress, anxiety, and judgment as best I could. And that's really what I've been able to accomplish here in the 18 months that I've been here. So I put these ideas in my mind, and I think, like Neville teaches and Dr. Murphy teaches, if you can plant these seeds in your mind and then just let them grow, things will harden into fact and things will work out. So I didn't really think about how was I going to build a coaching business, or how was I going to make money, or how was all this going to happen. I just believed it would happen. And to be totally honest, it did. So I met a wonderful woman who I think I mentioned in my last video. We're getting married in 3 weeks, so I feel very fortunate and blessed about that. I've been able to impact a lot of people in the coaching business, but doing it on my terms and not on somebody else's. And I've been able to earn enough money, to sustain a good lifestyle here. I mean, we live a relatively simple life. I'm able to hang out with my friends. I'm a musician, so fortunately for me, I'm able to play music here too, which has been awesome, and not something that I foresaw, but something that my intuition led me to do, and I've been able to do that as well. So when I talk about my life now here in Chiang Mai, I really think it was because I had clear intention and I had clear goals. And as Neville discusses, it's like planting a seed. When you plant these ideas in your mind, it's like when you plant a seed. When you plant a seed, you just water it every day and you let it grow on its own terms. And when it's going to blossom is when it's going to blossom. There's no exact time date. And you don't dig the seed up every day to make sure that it's growing. You just water it and make sure that it's okay, and you let it go. And that's what I do with these ideas. And for me, the lesson that I learned is that my intuition and my subconscious mind really led me to the right places. And so this is the lesson that I would share with all of you too, is, usually it's a quiet moment of reflection that makes you think that you need to make some changes. And again, I would say to you, you don't need to move halfway across the world to make these changes. And I realize that a lot of people have families and they have commitments and they need to do what they need to do. But if you can focus on the things that really drive your passion and drive your curiosity, I think you'll find yourself in a much happier place. And if you're in a place right now where you don't have a job and you're looking, I would encourage you to see yourself in the job that you already want to be in. Do that before you go to sleep at night. Make that your first thought in the morning. And don't worry about the job market's terrible or have thoughts like, I'm never going to get a job. Look, you will. You just need to define what it is that you want to do. And in videos in the future, I'll kind of go into how I feel manifestation has worked for me. And again, these are my experiences, so take this all with a grain of salt. But I think these things can work with you too. Remember, it's you who creates your reality. What you see in 3D is what you create, right? It's the ideas in your mind. And the most important advice, suggestion that I can give anyone is really identify what your desires are. Don't worry about how you're going to get there, but see yourself in the end result, plant the seed, and then let those seeds grow. And I really believe that they will. So if this video provided you any value or any insight, feel free to give a like. It'd be great if you had subscribed or shared it with some friends. If there's any questions I can answer, just throw them into the comments. I'm pretty much an open book. If there's any questions you have about Thailand, I'm happy to answer those too, about visas or living here or anything like that. I will tell you though that I've never been happier in my entire life. I found a great woman who I adore and I love deeply, to share my life with. And I wake up every day with a real sense of clarity, a real sense of calm, and a real sense of purpose. And again, I'm not perfect, but I'm getting there and I'm making strides. And although I didn't know exactly what the final result was going to be of these decisions, I did believe that it would all work out, and it really has. So I wish you all a wonderful day. Stay positive in your thoughts, and I look forward to hearing some of your comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Again, Sawadee Krap, take care.